Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to another very special episode of the SoulTalk podcast. I'm very excited about diving in with my guest today. We had her on SoulTalk a few years back, and it was a really amazing interview. And I'm excited to have her back. You may have heard of her. There's a good chance you have. You may have seen her books online in bookstores when bookstores used to be a thing. But I used to love her books. I've been reading her books for many, many years. They're so practical. They're so just direct, usable, simple, yet deep at the same time. One of the first books I read, which was There Is Nothing Wrong With You. When You're Falling, Dive. And she has so many other amazing books, I think 19 books or maybe more at the time of this recording. She founded the Mountain View Zen Center in Mountain View, California. And she's here to share her wisdom. Welcome, Cheri Huber. Welcome.
Well, thank you, sir. It's wonderful to be with you again.
It's great to reconnect. And for those that want to dive deeper, we're going to put the link to the previous episode in the show notes. In that interview, she shared a bit about her background and her origin story. So I just want to dive in, Cheri, into some questions and just make the most of our time and tap into some of the wisdom that I know you're going to be sharing. And so let's dive right in. I want to just dive into this topic of suffering.
Yeah.
Why, as human beings, even when we know differently, even sometimes when we know better, there's this saying, well, we're all doing the best that we can based on what we know. But I found like sometimes we know better and we still run around in circles and create suffering for ourselves. So I'm curious as to why do we as human beings create suffering for ourselves, even though we have information, even though we know better? I know you wrote a book, Suffering is Optional. And so I'd love for you to just share about this idea of suffering and why we create it. And how do we as humans unplug ourselves, unravel ourselves from the cycle of suffering?
Yeah. Well, that's a big question. Yeah, it set the Buddha off. So there are a lot of ways, of course, that people talk about this in a lot of different perspectives. So I'll just give you one. All right, just the one that I operate from, which is that most people, if you can remember being a small child, or if you spend any time around small children, you know that up until a certain point, there is this innocence and defenselessness. There's excitement and enthusiasm. In fact, you have to tie them into bed. They just can't wait to get up. They want to run. They want to play. They want to have a wonderful time. And then we begin to socialize them. And we teach them how to fit into society. And that comes down to what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what's everything in the world of duality. What's beautiful, what's ugly, what you should, what you shouldn't. And over time, a child, of course, in order to survive, takes that in. And then at a certain point, it moves from external information that I'm trying to take in and navigate to something that I have integrated, that I now believe. And when I look to life, that's what I look to. So now, in order not to get in trouble, in order to be the right person, I am going to do what's in my head telling me is the right thing to do. Okay. Now, whether it's Western psychology or Eastern philosophy, that's generally talked about as the ego. The illusion of being a person, a self that is separate from life. So now I'm in a subject-object relationship with life, and in many cases, life becomes the enemy. And I now have to do whatever I need to do in order to. So now we have, you're familiar with the story of the good wolf and the bad wolf, right? So so I've got, or the good angel and the wolf on your shoulder. And that's what most people are living out. I know what is the right thing to do. I even know what's good for me. I even know what would make me happy. But the voice in my head that is a constant conversation is telling me how I should be, what I should do, what's wrong with me, why it's not working. We call that, of course, self-hate. And that is what keeps that ego in place at the center of our lives. And that's the conversation that people listen to. And that's what overrides that intuitive information we have from the heart that says, this is the direction for my life.
So what does one do about that? How do we navigate and find the way to deal with the ego?
Well, I think this is the first step, the first giant step, which is simply realizing that it's the case. And that's, I like to go back to that, that image that we have of either being a very young child or being around very young children, because what that pictures for us is our authentic nature, as what we call Buddha nature or true nature. Okay, who we authentically are, what we really are, what our hearts are. And once we are aware of that, then we become aware of that incessant conversation in the head that's going on, that just constant assessing and judging and comparing and we begin to see the difference between those two. And we realize that, and this is not as quick usually for most people as I'm going to make it sound in this sentence, but what happens with us is we begin to trust more and more that the heart knows, that the wisdom is in the heart, and that love is what we are and what we want to choose. And we begin to feel a certain distance from that conversation in the head telling us what is true, what is real, what is so, what is important. We begin to sense ourselves moving back from that. And as we do that, through that process, we begin to trust life. We trust the wisdom of the heart more than the fear-mongering, hate-inducing conversation in the head.
Right. Beautiful. What happens if someone is in a place, though, there's some certain moments, I think we've all had it, when the sort of mind, ego, it's just a cycle, right? It's just going. And it, even though we kind of intellectually know, it just doesn't stop.
Yes.
And for those people that might be dealing with this thing, but it's like, I kind of get that, okay, it's not real, this is not true, but I can't stop this constant, whether it's dialogue or this constant feeling of something's wrong with me, I'm not enough.
Yeah. Well, yes. And of course, that's the reason that drugs are so popular. And whether you get them on the street or you get them from your doctor, that's why alcohol is so popular, right? That's why distraction is so popular, because people are desperate. At one point, I put a bullet through myself because I wanted to stop what I later realized was the voice in my head.
Wait, you put a bullet through yourself?
Yeah, I attempted suicide. And I know that the reason for that was I wanted that voice to shut up. I just wanted some peace and quiet, and I couldn't find it. No matter what I did, no matter what, I couldn't make it stop. It would just switch. If I did that, well, then it would switch over there. If I got through that, then it would say, yeah, but you could have, if I was successful with that, it would say, yeah, but you could have done better. You could have done, what about then? Yeah. So I understand that level of suffering. I deeply understand that level of suffering. And of course, the passion of my life is to encourage as many people as are open to it, that there is another way. It's not terminal there. And I will tell you the thing that in practice, in our practice now, in awareness practice, that I found to be the most helpful technique is recording and listening. And and what it actually does is replace that conversation in the head with a conversation in our own words about what we know to be true. So it's everything from doing guided imageries for yourself, where you talk yourself into calming down from that. Because here's the thing, we can only attend to one thing at a time. So if my attention is on that conversation in my head, then it's going to stir up the sensations in my body. I'm going to be emotional. And it just gets to be socks in a washer. Okay, it's just going around and around, as you describe. It's getting worse and worse and louder and louder and louder. But if I turn my attention to something else, and if that something else I turn my attention to is my own voice telling me that all of that stuff is not true, it's not real. What's really true is that I'm okay. I'm right here in this moment. I can look around where I am right now. I'm looking at blue skies and big white clouds and beautiful green trees, and the sun is shining. And even if that's not the case, there's always something that we can turn our attention to that is real for us. You know, you can go through a list of the people you love, or you can talk about the poetry or the music or the whatever it is that makes you happy. And you can give your attention to that, and it takes it off of that craziness in the head.
What about if someone says, I'm throwing a few questions at you, but what about if someone says, okay, but Cheri, my situation is hell. It's not just in my mind, right? Like, I don't know, I'm being beaten by my husband, or I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent tomorrow. Like, this isn't just in my mind. I have a situation, and now what? Because the real situation is difficult. It's hell. It's hellish.
Yes. And we deeply believe that. We deeply, deeply believe that, but that doesn't make it true. And so after as my friends call it, my unfortunate hunting accident, I realized, good grief, there were actually some alternatives to that. For instance, I could have gone to Bangladesh and helped people recover from floods. I could have gone down to the local and volunteered to whatever it is. I could have actually just moved to another city and left my situation behind me. Now, what would happen if the person, okay, there's the person either being beaten or can't pay the rent or whatever it is, and I come along and I say, okay, here's the deal. You're only locked in because you believe what's happening in your head. You have all kinds of choices. You could just walk out the door. And what are the voices in the head going to say? You can't do that. Are you crazy? You can't do that. Okay, I've watched it in way less loaded situations forever. So the person, you know anybody who hates their job?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I, of course, I chuckle at us human beings a lot because we're so, well, anyway, you go to school, you work really hard. All you want to do is get that degree so that you can be a and then you get that job as a and in a very short period of time, the voices kick in and you hate it. You hate it because of your boss, because of your coworkers, because of whatever it is. You hate the job. What do I say? Well, why don't you leave the job? I can't do that. There are benefits. I mean, what's going to happen to I'll probably never get another job okay, well then drop the conversation. One or the other. Either hate the job and leave the job and go to other circumstances and watch how soon the voices talk you into hating that, or stay there and drop the conversation because you're not going to go anywhere. Why hate it?
Is it that simple?
Yeah.
When you say drop the conversation, is it literally?
No, it's not that simple.
Drop it? Because it sounds simple.
Well, the thing is, getting it is that simple. It's a habit. So if you ever had a habit, I used to be a cigarette smoker. Okay. And I wanted to go into a monastery, and my teacher said, yeah, you're not going to come in and smoke cigarettes. And so I stood in the middle of my living room and screamed at the ceiling, I will never stop smoking. Okay, because I tried and I couldn't, and I tried and I couldn't, and I tried and I couldn't. And it was just, yeah, it was hideous. Okay. And then I quit. Okay. So it's the same process. I bite my fingernails. Well, don't put your finger in your mouth. Okay. Well, but it keeps being there and I don't notice that it's there. Well, then notice that it's there. It's a process, right? All of this is a process. And, we privileged types, we want life to be easy. We believe that if you just do all the right things and you make all the right, you get the right education, you get the right job, you get the right person, get the right salary, you get the right house, you're going to be happy. Well, guess what? It's not true. And so undoing all of that is a process. But if we realize that where we're going, our destination is the happiness that is our authentic nature, we can be motivated to stay the course.
Beautiful. Can you say a bit more about what this phrase that you said really stood out for me, that the happiness that is our authentic nature?
It's who we are. It's what we are. It's what we are. And yes.
Happiness is our nature. You're saying for all of us, the most miserable person, the drug dealer, the pimp, the rapist, it's our nature.
Everybody. And the thing, it's, again, we go back to the little child, and we can see that. I mean, little tiny people, puppies, cats, kittens, are happy. It's what we love about them. They're just happy. We have to teach them to be unhappy. And
we have to work hard to teach them to be unhappy. It's so true. Yeah. When I look at my son, Cheri, he's like 17 months now. He's literally happy all the flipping time.
That's right. That's exactly
for no reason.
That's right. Well, he's alive. He's alive. That's his reason. Yeah. And that's true of all of us. And you mentioned those people, the drug dealer, the raper, whatever it is, their happiness is their authentic nature too. So everything that we do in order to try to be happy. My teacher once said to me this thing that at the time I thought was completely bizarre. And then I realized he was right. A person murders somebody because they think they're going to feel better when they do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And so once we realize that, so you always wanted, I don't know, whatever kind of car you ever wanted, that, and finally you get to a place in your life and you get that car. And you know what? For a little while, you're really happy.
Yeah.
And then on to the next thing.
Yes.
So if we realize that the happiness that you feel did not actually come with the car, the happiness was inside you. And then you realize that lives there. And every time something, in quote, makes you happy, you touch into that same place inside of you.
Already, yeah.
Already there. And that's where you feel the happiness. And then attention turns away from that, and we get involved in something else, and we get increasingly unhappy. And then something happens. But if you realize that happiness is always there, and as soon as we turn our attention to it, we feel it. Now, this is the kind of stuff where people just roll their eyes and go, "Oh, Cheri, this is nuts." It also happens to be true.
There's a few questions I want to sort of dive into a bit based on what you're saying. So happiness is our nature. I believe it. It resonates as just the truth, as you're sharing. I've experienced that. But I know that maybe some folks listening will have a fear, because so often what motivates us in life is this feeling of discontent, right? Especially in American culture, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to not be content. I'm going to be my best self, whatever that means, based on what we've been taught. And so we drive, and often many of us, we're motivated to achieve things because we feel not enough. And so what drives us to maybe a high level of worldly success is this feeling of inadequacy. And so I think sometimes folks have this fear, maybe it's conscious or subconscious, of, well, sure, if I'm actually content and happy, how the hell am I going to be motivated?
Yes, and yet the irony, the beautiful irony of that is, why would you want to be so successful? So that you'll feel contented and happy. You don't want to be so successful so that you'll be miserable.
Yeah, yeah.
And yet, how many people, that is exactly what happens to them. And then, just to prove how hateful those voices in the head are, there you've achieved all of this stuff, all the stuff that you were supposed to achieve. And you are not happy. And so where does that take you? Well, there's something wrong with you. It's your fault. If you were the right person, you'd be happy. Well, no, you wouldn't, because happiness is not the result of all that stuff. It's just not. And the idea that we have to be discontented or that sort of thing in order to be motivated, we just have to prove to ourselves that it's not true. I'm not discontented. I'm wildly motivated, right? I mean, I can't wait to get up in the morning and do what it is that I do, because I love what I do.
Beautiful. So if someone's dealing with, let's say, the feeling, Cheri, the feeling of like something is wrong with me, you know, that feeling, not an intellectual, like just this inherent feeling. How does someone work with the feeling?
Well, yeah, and again, that's so perfect, because so the way we talk about it in practice is, first there's movement. Okay, life is movement. Everything is in flux all the time. There's movement. There's a sensation. You feel that movement in your body. So first there's movement, then there's sensation. We have a thought about it. We've been trained to know what a sensation means. Does it mean that? No, but that's what we have been taught it means, and therefore. So quick example there. If you are super excited about something, or you are anxious about something, the sensations are exactly the same. It's just that the story is different. The label is different and the story is different. Okay, so first there's movement, then there's a sensation in the body. We have a label that goes with it, an emotional reaction to that. I'm afraid, okay, because that's what those sensations mean. And then we have a conditioned behavior pattern that goes with it. So when I feel that way, this is what I do. And that, understanding that, is such a huge open door out, right? Because we begin to, the way we always talk about it is simply notice, right? We're big doers, but doing and fear, those are all ego land. Those are the world of ego, doing and fear, right? The busyness and that drivenness, that's all fueling ego, right? And so once we begin to notice and get curious about how these things go together, so we'll start to notice that when I'm thinking those thoughts, I feel those feelings inside my body. Okay, if I don't think those thoughts, I'm not feeling those feelings inside my body. So therefore, what we know is the problem is those thoughts that I'm thinking. And it's true, they need to be replaced with better thoughts.
Got it. Beautiful. I mean, the way you share it just clarifies things so clearly, practically, and simply.
And as you point out, though, it doesn't make it easy. So I'm not going to tell it, but I hope it makes it possible to people to realize that this is something that's possible for anybody. You don't even have to be particularly smart to get this. You don't have to be any kind of special person, because it really is that simple. And it takes some dedication.
So what's the purpose of life? Let's start with a small question. Like, why do we incarnate into this human
To,
realm
to be
domain?
alive.
What's the purpose of this thing?
To be alive.
To be alive. That's it?
That's it. That's it. And if we look at that from so you're presenting this as if there's some larger picture, right? Yeah. So I'm not going to offend anybody if I go along with the larger picture. So why would you incarnate? Why would a life force incarnate, take a human incarnation on a plane of existence like this?
Yes.
Was there anything you wanted to do?
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, see, again, I go back to that. You go to school, you get a job, you hate your job. So here I am, I'm floating around in the whatever it is, and not consciously in anybody, but there's this impulse to whatever. And on this plane of existence, you could come and you could play that out. You could take that role and you could play that out, and you could have that experience, and it's going to be great. Well, you could this and you could that, and you could this and you could that, right? And then you get here, and it's not quite like that. Right? You get stomach aches, and people don't like you, and you get rejected, and it doesn't go your way. And pretty soon it's like, dang, no, I'm not having a good time, but I've forgotten that it was my choice to come here. I've forgotten that all of this was my bright idea. Yeah. And now I'm grouchy. So if we want to look at it in that larger context, what do I get to see out of this? Well, one of the things I get to see is that what I thought life was apparently isn't what life is. So what is life then? Past my ideas about how things should be. It should be easy. Everybody should love me. I should get everything that I want. It should always go my way. Okay. All right. I'll concede. Maybe that's not it. So what might I learn about this? So one of my spiritual heroes says, we would all be a lot happier if we weren't so selfish. Oh, so maybe that's a piece of it. Maybe it's not all about me getting what I want for me and having everything. Maybe it's to be kind or caring or open to others, or, like some of the stuff Jesus mentioned.
Wow. And so when we incarnate, is there, I guess, how much of our life, in your perception, is destined? How much is our karma? How much can we control?
Well, so one of the things that I'm fond of pointing out to people is that control is an illusion. We have absolutely no control whatsoever. None.
Wait. We have none.
None.
Not like
None.
Zero.
Possibly less than zero, if there is such a.
Tell me more.
Yeah. So the reason that things go our way a lot of the time, I mean, we're privileged people, right? So things go our way pretty much of the time, right? Compared to an awful lot of the population of the world.
Yeah.
And so it can seem like we have control, because I set out to do something and I accomplish it. And then I take credit for it because I did it, right? It was my effort. And that's why I get the Tesla, because as I'm fond of saying, my commute is just hideous. I need a Tesla. Okay. And so I believe that right up until my partner dies, right up until one of my kids winds up in jail, whatever, right up until, my whole business just crumbles, right up until, and then where's all that control? Well, I never did have any. I was just going along in a direction, doing things that I'm pretty good at, and things go my way because I don't make a lot of choices that aren't in line with, I don't get up in the morning and decide to go do brain surgery on somebody. So I do the things that I'm pretty good at, and my life works. It's not the same as control. And I think that that's such an important point for us to understand. We may be blessed, fortunate, lucky, gifted, whatever, however we want to talk about that. But stuff is going to happen to us, and it is unpreventable, and we're not doing anything wrong. We're not being punished. It's just how life is.
So we're not being punished. Karma?
Well, karma is such an interesting thing. Karma is just really means action, means what is. Again, one of my spiritual heroes says, the best way to understand it is that everything is the cause of everything.
Everything is the cause of everything.
Yes.
Wow.
And we feel somewhat responsible because we are part of that cause. Yeah, but it's not a tit for tat. It's not a, you do this and you do that. So you're punished because you, whatever. I don't see any evidence whatsoever that that's the case. I think that people feel bad, and so they encourage punishment, but that's not the same as anything external is being done to us. So what it really comes down to is a matter of attitude. Our life reflects our attitude.
Our life reflects our attitude. So would it be fair to say we have control over our attitude?
We have the ability to influence our attitude. We can change our attitude, which is, of course, what practicing something like awareness does. That's what we're doing. We see how things work. So, I get really upset with, my child because she won't do whatever. And as I see that process in me, I'm different. And so I no longer have that belief or that expectation or whatever. And now my life is going to be very different. My relationship with her is going to be very different. So in that way, we can bring conscious awareness to anything, and our conscious awareness will alter it. Absolutely. I think it's the only thing that does. So one of our favorite expressions is the quality of our life is determined by the focus of our attention. So what my attention is on, if my attention is on suffering and how I'm a victim and poor me and that sort of thing, my life is going to stink. Okay. If my attention is focused on how lucky I am, how grateful I am, all of the things that really work for me, I'm going to be a happy human. Now, somebody else could come along. I'm fond of saying, I don't know if I'm really fortunate or I just have really low standards, but I think I have a fabulous life, right?
I mean, is there a distinction of maybe let's say someone in a relationship with a person that doesn't treat them that well, but they're like, well, I'm going to focus on what's good about it, even though they're being treated like crap. Is there a...
We call that going all Gandhi on somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, it's up to us. I have no beliefs in anything. Okay. One of our favorite expressions is pay attention to everything, don't believe anything, and don't take anything personally. So if somebody wants to stay in a relationship, they can. If they want to leave it, they can. Karma is going to be what karma is. You're going to run into yourself wherever you are. But if one person wants to make a relationship work, they can do it. Gandhi proved that.
If that took a moment. If one person wants to make a relationship work, they can do it.
That's right.
That's kind of deep. We just have to sit with that for a moment. Doesn't mean it's always healthy though, right? But you're saying they can't.
It'll be healthy. It'll be healthy for them. We can't know what's going on with the other person. But that person will be transformed in the process.
But what if they're being beaten, Cheri, or they're being abused, and the person is cheating on them, and they're being talked down to? Like, how is that healthy for them?
Well, if that's not what they care about, if what they care about is not caring about that, what they care about is, if we say something like unconditional love, then again, I was not raised Christian, but I think Jesus had a lot of good stuff to say to us, and of course he's the perfect model of that. All of that stuff is going on, but he never chose to leave love. Gandhi was the same way with all of the stuff that happened. Never chose to leave love. It's not easy. That's back to that place, and it can never be a contest. How people will hold these kinds of beliefs. Well, I'm an alcoholic, but if I were the right spiritual person, I could be a bartender. It's not a contest.
So when you say you have no beliefs, can you clarify what you mean by that?
Yeah, there's nothing. Well, okay. Believing requires somebody to be outside the moment in order to hold on to something from another moment and apply it to this moment. You with me?
With you.
Yeah. And so there's no sense in believing anything. You might as well just be here, because this is the only thing that's actually going on. And so believing something is just going to take part of your attention away from being here. It just doesn't. My teacher used to say to people who believed in God, well, why do you believe something that you can know? If you're having the direct experience in the moment, you don't have to believe something. Much more relaxing.
Okay, well, let's say, God forbid, I mean, this is just a theory, but I killed someone. Do you have a belief about that? Who killed someone? It's like, are you saying you don't have any belief about, hey, that was not great, that's not a good thing?
I can suggest that that's probably not going to go well. And I can know that that's not something that, as far as I can tell, I would ever choose to do. But it's really actually, none of my business. I think if we, the world would be so much a happier place if we just attended to our own business.
So when you see, the world is, as we're having this conversation, right? The world is going through some interesting things.
Which it always has.
Which it always has, right? Ukraine, Russia, Palestine, Israel. So I know, like, that statement might trigger some people. Like when you say,
most of my statements trigger people.
I love it. I love it. I want to dissect it a bit. And so when you say, oh, that's none of my business. So let's say I'm walking down the street and I see a guy or a girl molesting a child. Am I to say, that's not my business, and just keep walking?
Not a bit, because you're right there.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're right there. If you weren't there, then if you had to bring it in and think about it, right? You had to create the whole thing in your mind, then I would suggest that that's a great cause of suffering, but it's really a waste of a perfectly good life. But if you're walking down the street and you're right there, then in that moment, it's whatever you are called to do. Some people are horrified that they run in the opposite direction. They pretend that they didn't see it. They didn't. Right. Then there's the people that step in and get killed. So when we're in a situation, we're very much a part of it. That's very real. The thing I do a weekly radio show, right? And a couple of weeks ago, somebody called in just really upset with me because I had made a suggestion that I was actually listening to the Democratic National Convention, and it was a party, right? It was a lot of people really enthusiastic and excited and upbeat and all of that sort of thing. And I talk to a lot of people who are in despair over the politics in this country. And I said, well, you know, if you want to listen to a conversation that isn't going in that way, listen to those people. Well, this one was incensed, right? Because how could I say that when that political party is supporting genocide in Gaza? Well, it's easy for me to say it because it was my experience. That is what was going on right then, right? Now, the place that we don't want to go, as far as I can tell, is I want to say, I'm not doing anything. I am not a part of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, and I'm not a part of what's going on with Israel and the Palestinians. That has nothing to do with me. So I can be free to be absolutely judgmental about how people should be handling that. With me? Yeah. Okay, well, that's a wonderful idea, except when we look at our lifestyle, everything we do is contributing to all of that.
Right. That's deep. And often we don't realize everything we're doing that's contributing to that.
Oh, absolutely. No, I want my life to be easy, comfortable, secure, safe, protected. And I want everybody to meet my standards about how people should be in the world. Really? Yeah.
So is there anything to do when we see injustices around the world?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Plenty of things that we can do. Plenty of things that we can do. Whatever we see those things as being. Right? We can participate. And you know what? The thing that fascinates me about it, I don't need to leave this country to deal with issues. Now I do, and I want to talk to you about it before I go, because you know, I spend a lot of energy on a project that we do in Zambia, which I'm extremely passionate about, but I'm also passionate about what goes on in my very own community. I'm passionate about, in this little town where I live, there's a free medical clinic. And those people are mostly retired medical people and volunteers who provide medical care for people in our very own community who cannot get medical care. Okay? I care very deeply about our local food bank, where people in my very community don't have enough to eat. Children who go to school without breakfast and don't have a lunch. Okay? So I don't have to, you know, I don't have to really go out and get too involved in being irate about other things and what other people are doing or not doing, when there's so much more that I could be participating in right here. And then, you know, when this is all taken care of, okay, you know, that extra hour in the day or those extra $5 or whatever it is, then yes, absolutely. I want to contribute to everybody everywhere all the time. But telling people what they're doing wrong and hating them I just can't see it as helpful.
Yeah, it's not helpful. And it sometimes I think it can be a distraction or avoidance from dealing with our lives.
Exactly so. Exactly. Because if I can hate you, point the finger at you and hate you for what you're doing wrong, I don't have to look at myself.
Wow. So do you vote? How does someone vote without beliefs? Because now we're coming into this sort of election season, depending when people listen to this, it's like the world seems so divisive. It's like, do you take a stand and say, hey, I, Cheri Huber, I'm going to vote for this person or this party?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. In the same way that I make donations based on what my heart is called to. What I don't think is that is better than what you might choose to do. It's just that it's what my heart is called to. It's what I see as the way. Now, when it comes to something like jury duty, yeah, so that's a rough place for a Buddhist. And so what I do, and it is extremely unpopular, but I go through the process, and then I explain that I'm happy to be on a jury, but I will not find anyone guilty.
I'm sure they love it. I'm sure they love that.
I don't know. It's not, it's not. And people will say, well, then, well, what if you're in that situation? Wouldn't you want to have? No, I want a person who is trained to decide those things and who wants the karma of judging people. I'll have that person pass judgment on me. And so, yeah, but we each have to find our own way.
I like that. We each have to find our own way. And one thing that I'm really hearing from what you're saying, it's so easy to pass judgment of what someone's doing or not doing when we're not in the situation.
Oh, yeah.
But until we're in a situation, we just never know. You know, it's interesting. I just saw this thing online, Cheri, that I think it's called Siete Foods, which was like a sort of a healthy chip company, you know, made from like cassava chips. A family started this company, and very healthy products, and the health conscious community love the Siete chips. And I think it was either Coca-Cola or Pepsi or one of these conglomerates just bought this company, and everyone was just in uproar, like, how could you guys? I mean, they sold for like $1 billion, but it's like, how could you guys sell? And you guys are you've sold out. You're sellouts for selling your company to the Coca-Colas or the Pepsis of the world, and it was just a big uproar. And I saw someone post this thing saying, like, how can you judge someone else's decision when the fact is probably most of us that are judging, if we were offered $1 billion for our family,
tell our kids,
we probably would make the same decision. And so it's great to be righteous from over there, judging this family, right, and the generations that they're going to transform. But we all got to chill out a bit. And I thought it speaks to a bit of what you're saying. Yeah. It's humbling too, as I think of it, because it makes me think, like, who am I to judge, and like, what do I really know? Because I think many times we judge from a very limited perception of our conditioned ego, which is programmed. So even our judgment is preconditioned.
Exactly. Yeah. And if we can get there without self-hatred coming in, oh, I'm such a judgmental person, I'm blah, 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 aren't I awful? No, we're all conditioned to be this way. We need to see through it. As we see through it, we'll transform. We will.
It's beautiful. Loving this conversation. It's really, it's giving, I think it's giving us a lot of things to think about. I think if we're really taking what you're saying, it will really humble us to come from a place of humility and maybe more curiosity, I think, about openness, perception, openness, right? About people's perceptions, and about our perceptions about others as well.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Because if we realize that our authentic nature is one, how far off can people be? I mean, we all make really iffy choices, and then we learn from them. We just do. And so if our authentic nature, the authentic nature of everything that exists, is goodness, then we're all returning home. And if we can help one another return, then we're all going to benefit.
So how would you, or how can someone, but let's say someone hurt you, your child, you stole something from you, right? Something valuable, your entire savings, abused your child. How practically, how would you deal with that?
Well, that is a brilliant question. I will say that is a brilliant question.
Yeah.
Because it goes right to the heart of the whole thing. So
Yes.
if that happened,
Yes.
would very likely be extremely upset.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
would be angry. I
Yeah.
would want to hurt the other person. I would want
Right.
it, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
I could let myself go through all of that
Mm-hmm.
without needing to believe any of it, without needing to act on it, but to let it all be there, to grieve, to rage, to whatever it is. And if I could be present to all of that, I would get to the other side a freer human being.
Mm-hmm.
Because the choice is not to stuff it or to act on it. I need to be aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awareness is the door to freedom.
And so we don't stuff it, we don't deny it, we feel it all.
Oh, yep. Yep. We can, and earlier I talked about the recording and listening. You know, you can pick up your phone if that's where you record things, you know, and you can just rant and rave and scream and yell. You know, if you have a therapist, you can go pound on their desk. You can, you know, whatever it is that you need to do in order to honor every single thing that comes up in you about this without believing that it's going to be helpful to you or anyone or anything else for you to act out of that emotion.
Mm. And so how do we get to that place of true forgiveness where we really can, like someone has wronged me. Yeah, someone has, they genuinely have, you know, they've done something, right? That is very painful. They've stolen, done something to my child. I'm working through these emotions. I guess how do I get to that place where I can forgive them?
What's going to
What,
happen?
what is what is that? How do I cross that line?
You said it a few minutes ago, because in that process, what you're going to see is the harm that you have done. Because we don't see that. So for instance, you know, you feel mistreated in a relationship.
Okay.
But the relationships that you were in, you don't see how you were whatever, disrespectful or uncaring or insensitive, or because we're right. I mean, we're just seeing it how it is and operating out of what is so. But in that clarity that comes from the kind of process that we're talking about, we do get clear about it. And we can see how, yeah, the content may be different. You know, this person stole. I didn't steal anything, but I also didn't care about this other person. I also maybe fired them from a job that they really needed, or didn't listen to them when they were trying to tell me something that was really important to them, that they cared deeply about. I'll get to see all of the ways that I have been. And in that, we realize there's really nothing to forgive. We're just all doing the best that we can. And we are all, we can either say we're all flawed human beings, doing the best we can, trying to wake up, moving along the path. Or we can say, which is my perspective, we're all absolutely perfect, absolutely perfect. And in that perfection, we are assisting one another to clarity.
Is it true though that we're all doing the best we can? I want you to go deeper into that. Like I look at, let's say, Pablo Escobar, or you know, there's this whole thing in the news. I don't know if you're tracking, Cheri, like this guy, the rapper Diddy, right? Who's a whole bunch of stuff has come out about what he's done. Is pretty serious. He's in jail now. Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, like someone like that, are they doing the best that they can?
Yes, the horrifying, I think the horrifying reality is they are. They are. And again, you know what we tend to do is what we want to do is pick the very worst and compare ourselves to them. And I'm not that bad. I'm really not that bad. And then we pick the very best and we compare ourselves to them and we feel bad. We feel
Yes.
bad. But if we just see us all on a continuum, then we realize, yeah, okay, this is where I am. This is so, I don't want to traffic young girls. I don't want to be fabulously wealthy and know that most of the world is going to bed hungry. I don't want that. That's no credit to me. I just don't want it. I'm just not interested in it. I don't know why. Either I've done all of that at some point and I'm past it, or it's in my future. I don't know, but I don't know where that person is. But I strongly suspect that where they are with what they've got going, this is the best that they can see to do. This is what's going to make them happy.
Right.
And of course it doesn't. And it's terribly, terribly sad. Because what an awful lesson. Jeffrey Epstein, my God, who would trade places? The jet, the money, the sex? Really? No. But there are a lot of people who would. Yeah. Because they don't yet know that that's not the experience they want to have. So the experiences that we have and we learn. And a lot of, for most people, are really, really, really painful.
Yeah.
The chap, the rapper, I'm sure sitting in that cell, it might occur to him that those were not some good choices. And it's equally possible that he could be sitting there blaming other people for his circumstances. And we all know that one as well.
Yeah. It's so interesting. You're reminding me, I was in Cambodia recently doing an event, and we had this guide, Cheri, who he was helping us with the prep. And so I was running around with this guide for a day, right? A couple of days preparing the event. And it's safe to say that not just me, but a few people on my team found him quite, shall we say, challenging to deal with. Challenging. Like he was like a kind of character that had a lot of edge and just a bit difficult, right? And so, a few folks were getting really reactive with him, and he was reacting, it was just spiraling. So we were in the car, and I just started asking him about life and his history in Cambodia. And I don't know if you know the story, but he was telling me about the real history of Cambodia, how this dictator came in, killed off, there were 7 million people in the country, killed off 3 million of these people, and started killing off everybody, the killing fields. And I said, so what happened to you? And he said, oh yeah, they separated me from my mom and my dad, put us in a kids camp, made us work in the fields. And he said, I didn't think I'll see my parents again. And when I tried to run away from this camp, they beat me, took cigarette butts, stuck it into my body. But also several times he was saying he was hung, like literally by the neck. And when he said this, like my heart, I don't know, my heart cracked open with compassion, because I thought, wow, like we all have a story, whether we know or not, and we're all based on our conditioning and our pain. We really are doing the best that we know how, and it may not be how we would do it, but I had so much respect for him after that, because I thought, wow, if I was in his situation, having gone through what he went through, I don't know if I would be as sane as him.
Exactly. I don't know that I would be doing that well.
I don't know. I really don't. And so, Yeah, it's beautiful that you're giving us this perspective, especially as we're moving into this part of the year and election season with a lot swirling in the world right now, as it's always been. But I think it can maybe help us have some perspective, step back, think, and reflect on ourselves. And so, Cheri, I have loved this conversation. I think you've challenged us, you've given us some stuff to really think about, stirred some folks, maybe pissed off a few folks, which I think is great. I love it. Couple of things. I guess, where can people connect with you and find you? And can you just share something about your Zambia project?
Oh, yes, thank you. I would absolutely love to. So we are livingcompassion.org. So livingcompassion.org. If anybody's interested in that recording and listening, there's also a website. It's recordingandlistening.org, and it's all written out, just recordingandlistening.org, and it has 1,000 things on there that people can do and practice with. And if they're interested in our books, those are at keepitsimple.org. So in Zambia, we're coming up on our 20th anniversary. It's a community there. It's a slum community. They're on a cemetery site, as a matter of fact. And so we've been there 20 years, and our first kids are graduating from college. We feed 1,000 kids a day, and they have clean water and medical care and education and all of those kinds of things. So it's a very big deal. They're family at this point. You know, 20 years with people, it's no longer a project. It's family. So yeah, that's what that's about. And there's an Africa part of the Living Compassion website if people are interested in learning more about that.
Amazing. Amazing. Beautiful. We're going to put
1,000 kids a day. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I can barely cook for myself.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, we're very happy.
That's powerful. We're going to put all of the links in the show notes so that people can connect with you. Folks, I really encourage you to check out Cheri's books. I love her books. That's how I first found her many, many years ago. So enjoyed all the books I've read of hers. So check out her work there. As you can see, there's a lot of wisdom that will make you think, and I would say shift your perspective on so many things about yourself and life. And we'll put all of her links in the show notes, so check her out there. Cheri, thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. Thank you for coming back.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for coming back on Soul Talk. Everybody, share this episode with anybody in your life that you love. And I'll catch you in next week's episode of Soul Talk. Oh, by the way, send me an email, coopblackson@coopblackson.com. I'd love to hear your key takeaways from today's episode. And until next week, love now.